Thank you, everybody, and thank you so much for inviting me. I'm really looking forward to listening to Susan Phillips and Jean Danza, two of the most prolific artists in the sculptural field today. But first of all, I would like to comment a little bit on these truly interesting discussions this morning, and in particular what Brigitte was addressing when you were talking about art in general and maybe in particular public installation as a part of a democracy project. And then I couldn't stop from thinking on what Hannah Arendt, the German-American philosopher and political theorist, tried to think through towards the end of her life. And interestingly enough, I don't know if you're familiar with her at all, but she was about to finish her big endeavor, which is called The Life of the Mind. And she was more or less finished with the first part, which was about thinking. The second part, which was about willing. And the third part, which was supposed to be about judgment, or judging, she wasn't able to finish it. She was found dead in front of a typewriter a December morning, 1975. And the only word which was there in the paper, on the paper, was on judging. But she mentioned a few words in an essay in 1961, which is called The Crisis in Culture, and she had left some notes, lecture notes, on her working through of the Kantian critique of judgment. And we could follow a little bit what she was after. Hannah Arendt thought that, well, when we're talking about the difference of art, this is what we are talking about again and again and again, then we are, I would say, basing our thinking still around the Kantian notion of the thing in itself, or das Ding in sich, which means that the artwork is supposed to be without any interest. And this has, of course, been much debated. Hannah Arendt is going back to this das Ding an sich, but she's not staying there. She's saying, well, what is it that Kant assumed you would need to be able to judge, make an aesthetic judgment? Of course, that is the point of departure for the whole idea of the difference and the idea of das Ding an sich. And then she says that it seems as if Kant thought that in order to be able to make an aesthetic judgment, you must have some kind of enlarged mentality, as he calls it, which means that you have to be able to put yourself in somebody else's position. And that is, to a certain extent, something which is non-egoistic. You are able to judge, you're able to understand something because you're able to step out of yourself, to put yourself into somebody else's position. That is his argument. And Hannah Arendt is then continuing it, saying, yes, this might be what we do when we judge at all. That means when we make ethical judgments. So she seems to have thought that by training ourselves in making aesthetic judgment, which means looking at art, or reading, or listening, or whatever, we will also be able to make political judgments. And this is a truly revolutionary understanding of art. It put it really right in the center of the whole democracy project, just as Brigitte was saying. And it's saying something not about the artist, but about our capacity of understanding and judging on art, which is not exactly the same thing. Having said this, I would like also a little bit to go back to what I promised to talk about a little bit, and that is Rosalind Krauss, when she was discussing Brancusi and Richard Serra, among others, Rodin, for instance, in her Passages in Modern Sculpture. And then she's saying that the whole modern project is about to relocate the body's meaning by decentering it, including the space of the body at the time, as if it's pairing. And I thought that this might also be very, very well applied to, for instance, Susan Phillips and Jean Danza, as we will see. But I don't want to reduce the difference from a contemporary art project compared to what we call the modern project. There are differences, And I think the whole point is that there are differences. And instead of denying them or smoothing them or questioning them, I would say that the fact that there are differences makes it possible to continue to use, for instance, a term such as culture. Would there be only unity, we would not be able to use the term culture. Now I'm a little bit provocative. And then I would like to follow this thought by introducing Wittgenstein, obviously. And Wittgenstein, as you remember, when the young Wittgenstein wrote his Tractatus in 1917, he thought that he would be able to tell what can we say is true and what can we say is false. What are we able to talk about? And as you know, he came to the conclusion that we are able to talk about very, very few things, because we cannot make true or false judgments. Now, this was this, and he thought, young as he was, that now he was done with philosophy. He has solved all the problems in philosophy, and he went on and became a teacher and an architect and some other failures, and then he was dragged back into philosophy. And then he clearly shows, I think, his greatness, because what is happening then is that he is saying, I was wrong. I was completely wrong. I had misunderstood everything. And he started to rethink everything that he had thought before. And I think this is something which is very rare. You don't consolidate your position, you change it and say, I was actually wrong. And then he says that you cannot use a term according to its inherent qualities, but you can use it only by using it. It means that the way you use the term defines what it means. And he is comparing this, and in particular in philosophical investigations, he is talking about the game, the word game, the notion, the term game. And then he is identifying something which is called family likeness, or family resemblances. And then he is talking about that it is as in spinning a thread, and there we twist fiber on fiber. And the strength of the thread doesn't reside in the fact that some one fiber run through its whole length, but the overlapping on many fibers. And now I'm going to be quiet very, very soon, because I love to listen to Susan, but I have to share with you one quotation from Philosophical Investigations. He is describing a peculiar kind of game. He says, we can easily imagine people amusing themselves by playing with a ball so as to start various existing games, but playing many of them without finishing them, and in between throwing the ball aimlessly into the air, chasing one another with the ball, and bombarding another for a joke, and so on. And now someone says, the whole time they are playing a ball game and following definite rules at every throw. And is there not also the case when we play and make up the rules as we go along? And there is even one where we alter them as we go along. So, please, Susan. Thank you.